Hello, continuing today with our topic on psychic influence and attacks. Looking at the traps of martyrdom and of course the value in cultivating the soul, opening the heart center, amongst much more. So when it comes to psychic attacks, what is the value of opening the astral center, which is sometimes referred to as the middle Dantian, the soul center, and the heart? Well, when we open the heart center, we elevate the resonance of the soul. So the, resting frequency of the soul starts to rise. And why is this? This is because the soul, the astral center, body and field, these act as a gateway that bridges mind, substance, and matter. So we can look at this sort of like a metaphysical pivot point, a metaphysical bridge between mind, substance, and matter. Now, when unencumbered and free, the astral body, the astral field, this heart center and field, is able to sustain an orientation with our highest refinement through a continuum of responsive freedom. So what do we mean by that? The resonance and alignment of that astral center and that astral field, and of course how that plays through the astral body, which links in through the physical and the mental. This is tuned to our highest resonance that we're capable of. And anything that comes into that, anything that touches that, whatever that influence might be, gets auto-transmuted into our highest resonance, or auto-alchemized. Ideally, if enough practice has been done, that we're constantly tuning and surrendering to that highest. Any resistance in us to that highest has been through the practice habitually given over or surrendered to that highest, those tensions, those blockages. So when other densities enter the field, those are automatically transmuted or transformed into that highest frequency that we're capable of inhabiting. So, but this is very much like the Tai Chi saying, a fly alighting sets the wheel in motion, meaning from a physical standpoint, the weight of a fly landing on your arm sets the whole wheel of harmonization and reorganization and reorientation underneath the weight of that fly. It sets the wheel in motion, or sets the process of transmutation in motion. So the weight of a fly, or in what we're talking about here, the weight of a thought, right? The weight of an emotion, the weight of an intention coming in externally, sets the wheel of transmutation in motion. So this is a very, very important part of the path that we want to consider and contemplate on and meditate on very deeply. Now we can look at the expression of this transmutation, this transformation of energy, as authentic soul expression. And this authentic soul expression is tuned to our sincerest, highest refinement. Now, this is much different from fear-based shielding, or a facade of positivity, a facade of exhilaration, a facade of excitement. This is very, very different from that. We want to be very honest with where we're at all times. Honesty, sincerity is at the foundation of all of this stuff. We're looking at reality. We are looking at ourselves and what lies underneath everything, to the point that we can actually perceive very directly the underlying fabric that everything rests into and is of. So in order to do that, we have to be very, very cognizant about the truth of what we think, what we're feeling, how we are acting, and the motivations therein. To lie is to create a vast dissonance in our field. And this dissonance leads to weakness. Coherence leads to strength. We've discussed this quite often here, that when we have aligned resonance, this leads to a synergistic strength. And likewise, when we have dissonance, when we're in contrast with ourselves, this leads to weakness. So we want to be very, very honest with ourselves so that wherever we're at, we are capable of working from an aligned, strong, and resilient place. To cross disciplines here, we'll borrow a quote from the prolific martial artist Jesse Glover. He is deceased now. He had a quote that was, "Don't try to hit harder than you can hit." And this is something that we really want to take a look at. So sincerity with where we are at in our path, on our path, in our evolution is absolutely vital to not taking on damage and to doing good that isn't baked in pride. So adopting high vibrational actions that have not been realized is pride, and it comes into that category. Now, we might think at the outset, okay, well, these are at least higher vibrational actions, they're good. And in a sense, this is true, and you can use these actions to start to elevate that resonating frequency that is your baseline. However, we can also take on a lot of damage because the place from which these actions is coming is a touch fraudulent, a touch of a facade. So this pride leads to martyrdom, where we pedestalize ourselves for the amount of damage that we take on due to our work. And this is pride in taking on to ourselves the suffering of others, which is a much different place to come at it from than a sincere, realized connection of unity with the environment around us. Now, we'll hear phrases like unconditional compassion, unconditional love, turn the other cheek, and there's a million of these. And these are wonderful from a certain perspective if they've been realized. If they haven't, then they're being done or leading to resentment of the one who's doing these actions. So the one who's being unconditionally kind will start to build resentment. The one who's constantly turning the other cheek will start to take on damage. And because it's not an aligned response that's based off the true evolution of the person, you are in a type of dissonance with yourself. And of course, this leads to weakness and very, very real sickness. Now, when we are not coming from a place of sincere realization, we become a victim of our own abuse, right? So what does this mean? Well, when we become a doormat, let's say, and this is because a part of us has idealized a phrase like turn the other cheek, unconditional compassion, unconditional love, and all the rest of them. It's not a deep, coherent realization. It's one part of us has attached to an idea of what this could mean and is now imposing that on the rest of us. And we end up becoming our own tyrannical father from an archetypal standpoint. And we are imposing these situations on ourselves again and again. So we want to start to notice this, and that can help us to find a way out of that trap so that we can continue evolving in a sincere way. This kind of martyrdom doormat syndrome, this is very often pridefully rationalized by the people that are doing it, right? We look on it with like, well, I'm doing this wonderful thing. I'm doing this very, very good thing of like taking one for the team. However, this is not the place that it comes from when it is realized. Again, when it is realized, you are not separate from the source of that abuse or whatever that situation might be. So if you have ever heard of Gabor Maté, he worked in palliative in Vancouver, BC. Here he's written a number of books. I think the title of one might have been The Body Keeps Score, so something to that effect. But what he noticed working with these folks in palliative was that almost all of them, when he listened to their life story, they very often had never spoken up, had never expressed their will or their boundaries, and had just sort of shrunk underneath the pressure of the environment, their relationships, whatever the situation might have been. And so that lack of projection, right, external projection, and we could say resoluteness, often created internal small encapsulations of density in the forms of cancers and other such sicknesses. So there's definitely a lot of value in looking at this. And we need to very much come to understand that the real evolution is not an idea. As we're going through this, it's not adopting the idea of unconditional compassion, the idea of turning the other cheek and acceptance and whatever quote you want to throw in here. The words and actions, they don't mean what we think they mean. They have to come from the place they come from. The actions have to come from the true places, not be attached to and used as a source of internal self-specialness. It is an authentic expression at that point of your highest in this moment. Whatever your highest refinement is in this moment, that is what you bring, and that is how you respond authentically with coherence, resonant alignment, and therefore power. And this is the base from which living alchemy unfolds. And this obviously flows into the psychic influence realm or psychic attacks when you are being besieged by these, flies, to use the Tai Chi metaphor, of mind or of emotion, of ill will. The wheel in motion is a living alchemical soup, a living alchemical transmuter, and anything that touches it gets alchemized in the moment based off of our sincere being now, not our ideals. So as you elevate yourself over time, as you grow, as the refinement continues to evolve, whatever enters, whatever fly lands on this machine, this alchemical transmuter and transformer that is you, will be alchemized or transformed to that resting baseline vibration. And this is a very, very, very important part of this to keep in mind if we want authentic growth. Be who you are, where you are, strive to grow, strive to refine, strive to evolve, and don't lie. For training, please check out the website. If you enjoyed this, there's also retreats that I host as well. So that information is on the website along with the courses in Tai Chi, Qigong, Hermetic Alchemy, and Meditation. There's a Zenden there, which is a Q&A video reference library. All the questions you might have, I get back to you via video there. And hopefully I will see you there. All right, thanks a lot. Have fun, practice. Bye.